At number 5, this is a first generation Apple product. Okay, one of the best things about Apple products is how well they work. But these Macs are the first Mac machines to move to Apple's own silicon. This requires a whole new everything. Coming in at number 4, virtualization is going to be a pain. If you have any reliance on Windows or virtualizing other operating systems on your Intel-powered Mac, that's going to be a problem with the M1-powered Macs. One of the best but most underrated features of the Mac was the ability to run Mac OS without any hacking and have Windows running. You could either boot into either operating system or you could run virtual machines. Sometimes you just need a program that was not on Mac, or maybe you wanted to game on the Windows side. Coming in at number 3, if you have a current Intel-based Mac, there is no reason to jump ship yet. As much as Apple pushes people forward by taking away ports or changing processors, Apple does take care of its users. The company has supported all kinds of hardware with software updates for the iPad and the iPhone. The new MacBook Air with M1 looks like the old MacBook Air. The same is true of the Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro. Why should that matter? Well, as Apple touted, the M1 has some great performance. The MacBook Air even ditched its fans because the M1 is so wonderful. The M1 MacBook Pro loses 2 USB-C ports. The 2020 Intel MacBook Pro 13-inch had 4 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports. The M1, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports with USB 3.1 Gen 2. Let's stick with the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro. Its maximum storage is 2 terabytes. The Intel one was 4. The max amount of RAM on the M1 is halved compared to the 2020 Intel machine. This I'm not so worried about because performance on iPhones has been great even if they don't have the most RAM. Well, at least all the new M1 Macs have Wi-Fi 6. And the number one reason to hold off on getting an M1 Mac is simple: app support. It will take time for apps to be ready for the M1 Mac. The more programs you use on your Mac, the more issues you could be facing. Apple does have Rosetta 2. This will allow for existing Intel Mac apps to run on the new M1 Macs. Apple claimed that in some cases, this combination is faster when compared to certain older Intel Macs. Apple's optimized all of its apps: iMovie, GarageBand, Logic Pro, Final Cut Pro. If you use only Apple apps, you might be good to go on day one. Adobe will be making versions of its software for the M1, but keep in mind that Photoshop won't make the leap until next year. And even when that happens, that version will be a universal app that runs on both Intel and M1 Macs.